In 1913, a strange thing happened in the Casino of Monte Carlo. The beads of the roulette wheel stopped in the black area, once, twice, 10 times. When black appeared 15 times in a row, the gamblers in the entire casino went crazy. And everyone put heavy money on the red area. Their logic is indestructible. Since black has appeared so many times, according to the principle of balance, whether it is due to probability or the will of God, red must appear next time, right? As a result, the beads continued to fall into the black area mercilessly, and did not stop until the 26th time. The casino made a lot of money that night, and countless people who believed in the conservation of luck lost everything. This is the famous Monte Carlo fallacy in history. Why is this happening? Because the roulette wheel has no memory. The 20th spin has no idea what happened in the previous 19 spins. Each spin is an independent random event. But our human brain is a causal connection machine that has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. What we can't stand the most is having no reason. We instinctively refuse to believe that randomness is uncontrollable. So we must invent a set of conservation laws to give ourselves a sense of security. This has to mention a particularly classic experiment in psychology called Skinner's pigeons. Behavioral psychologist Skinner kept several pigeons in boxes. There is a feeder in the box, but this machine feeds food completely randomly and has nothing to do with what the pigeons do. After a while, Skinner came back and was shocked. The pigeons were crazy. Some were spinning counterclockwise, some were banging their heads rhythmically against the wall, and some were raising their legs repeatedly. It turned out that these pigeons happened to make a certain action at a certain moment. And then the machine just happened to adjust the food, so the pigeon's brain immediately established a connection. It must have been my spinning in circles that moved God and gave me food. In order to maintain this good luck, they began to repeat this action crazily, convinced that this was the code to control their destiny. Sound familiar? Isn't this who we are? We wear red underwear to play mahjong, pass the koi cup before the exam, or play games like I used to, and wash our hands before opening the box. Bathing and changing clothes, mumbling something. There is no difference between us and the pigeons in Skinner's box. We are all trying to use some sense of ritual to grab a little sense of control in this chaotic world in the face of huge cold randomness. But if it's just a sense of superstition and ritual, it doesn't hurt. At best, it looks a bit silly. What is really scary is that once this kind of thinking of conservation of luck and control of cause and effect is extended to the social level, it will become an extremely lethal prejudice and the assumption of a just world. This concept was proposed by psychologist Melvin Lerner, which means that people tend to believe that the world is fair, and good will be rewarded with good and evil will be punished with evil. That sounds positive, right? But the backside of it is extremely brutal. If something bad happens to a person, it must be because he did something wrong. If a person is successful, he must have done something right. Under this logic, luck is completely eliminated. If you look at the current online public opinion field, every time there is a victim, whether it is being defrauded, harassed, or experiencing an accident, there is always a voice that will appear first in the comment area. Why don't you lie to others? Just you? There must be something wrong with your attire. Who asked you to go out in the middle of the night? This theory of victim guilt is essentially our subconscious fear of randomness. Because if we admit that the victim is innocent, it is pure bad luck. That means that this kind of misfortune may also happen to us at any time. This is a fear that our brains cannot bear, so we must find a crime for the victim to comfort ourselves. See, as long as I don't do what he does, I won't be unlucky. The same logic is even more disastrous when applied to success studies. We read the biographies of those business tycoons and those rags to riches stories, always full of inevitability. He succeeds because he is diligent, because he has vision, and because he perseveres. Like Skinner's pigeons, we crazily summarize every move of a successful person. He gets up at 4 o'clock every day, so I also have to get up at 4 o'clock. He dropped out of school to start a business, so studying was useless. But random walking idiots said it very bluntly. If you let an infinite number of monkeys sit in front of a typewriter and type randomly, there will always be one monkey who can type out an entire Hamlet. In the real world, the lucky monkey will be put on a pedestal by the media, published the best-selling book How I Typed Hamlet, and summarized 7 habits for successful keyboarding, while no one will see the hundreds of millions of other monkeys who failed to type which is the so-called survivor bias. This leads to a more heart-wrenching question. In modern society, how much of a person's success depends on strength? And how much of it is pure luck? If we admit that luck plays a dominant role, does it still make sense that the hard work we have been taught since childhood can change our destiny? This is very interesting. In fact, many experimental data show that we greatly underestimate the weight of luck in a very small number of top achievers. It can even be said that in an extremely competitive field, talent and hard work are just the ticket. The final decision on who can sit on the throne is often a little bit of uncontrollable random disturbance. But those with vested interests often like to cover up this fact. About this, and how this cognitive bias affects our social class mobility. How to even create the current involution, anxiety has to start with the truth of an experiment that makes many people feel uncomfortable. A few years ago, several physicists at the University of Catania in Italy conducted a very interesting computer simulation experiment. They set up 1,000 cyborgs in the virtual world. The talent levels of these people are normally distributed, which means that the vast majority of them are ordinary people. A very small number of people are geniuses, and a very small number of people are stupid. This is very consistent with the situation in real society. The researchers then let the virtual society run for 40 years, simulating human careers. During these 40 years, everyone will randomly encounter lucky and unfortunate events. Lucky events can double your wealth, and unfortunate events can cut your wealth in half. It stands to reason that since talent is the cornerstone of success, then in 40 years, the richest people should be those with the highest talent, right? When the data came out, everyone was silenced. In this model, those who achieve great success in the end are almost not the most talented people. Those cyborgs with outstanding IQs and perfect reporting skills often lose all their wealth due to bad luck and a few unfortunate incidents. The vast majority of those who really stand at the top of the pyramid are those who only have an above-average level of talent, but are extremely lucky. The final conclusion of this paper is very heart-wrenching. Talent is not only not a sufficient condition for success, but in the face of extreme good luck, it may not even be a necessary condition. But here comes the problem. Since scientific simulations tell us that the weight of luck is terrifying, why is it so difficult for us to hear successful people say that I am just lucky in real life? In addition to being polite when being humble, they usually firmly believe deep down that this is the result of their own hard work. Thomas Skilovich, a psychologist at Cornell University, proposed a very elegant theory called headwinds. Downwind asymmetry. Everyone has experienced riding a bicycle or running. When you are going against the wind, you feel very obvious. The wind is blowing on your face. Every step you take is very laborious, and you will keep complaining about the damn weather. But when you have a tailwind, you often don't feel the presence of the wind. You just feel that you are in a brave state today, with strong legs and feet, and running fast. The same is true in life. The difficulties, barriers, and discrimination we encounter in the process of struggle are headwinds. We will never forget them and regard overcoming these difficulties as proof of our ability. And those disasters that might have happened did not happen. We were born in good times and met noble people by chance. These are tailwinds. They are pushing us, but we can't feel it. We mistake this propulsion for the strength of our own legs and feet. This cognitive bias creates a particularly arrogant meritocracy trap in today's society. When we overly believe in the conservation of luck, or the harder we work, the luckier we get. We are actually building a cruel chain of contempt. If success is only because I work hard and am smart, then those who deliver food, those who hammer screws in factories, and those at the bottom of society must be because they are lazy, stupid, and do not work hard. This logic causes us to lose empathy for losers. We no longer think of them as unlucky fellows, but as inferior products that deserve to be eliminated. This is the darker side effect of the pseudo-concept of the law of conservation of luck, which robs us of our compassion for others. Having said that, not only from a sociological perspective, but also from an evolutionary perspective, acknowledging the existence of luck is actually good for survival. In the process of biological evolution, do you think that all the survivors are the strongest dinosaurs or the saber-toothed tigers with the sharpest teeth? Not really. When the asteroid hit the Earth 65 million years ago, no matter how strong the Tyrannosaurus Rex was, it would have to die. Instead, those mammalian ancestors who were small in size and had low energy requirements and who usually seemed submissive, escaped because they were lucky enough to hide in caves. Survival itself is often a stack of survivor biases. So the so-called law of conservation of luck is pure nonsense in physics and mathematics. But in terms of philosophy of life, I think it can be understood in another way. If we regard luck as uncontrollable chaos, then we can try to conserve another thing, goodwill. Now that we know that we can sit here and watch videos, have enough food, clothing, and education, it is largely because we won the ovarian lottery and were born in a relatively peaceful era and region, not because we are nobler than those refugees in the war. So when we face those who are temporarily at a low point, when we face those who are rubbed against the ground by life, can we have less pointing fingers because you are not working hard enough? And more understanding that I may be in that position too. This is why I am particularly disgusted with the extremely vicious mutual insults and winner-take-all arguments on the internet today. Everyone is on a boat full of randomness. When a wave hits, anyone may fall. Finally, what I want to say is that getting rid of the superstition of conservation of luck does not make us fall into nihilism. If we feel that everything depends on our appearance anyway, then we should just lie down and let it go. On the contrary, acknowledging the existence of luck is a high-level heroism. It means that when you are in good times, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, you are really lucky. Don't be too crazy and help others." It also means that when you encounter adversity, when you mess up despite your best efforts, you can let yourself go without spiraling into endless self-attacks. You can say to yourself calmly that this is not entirely my fault, but that the wind is going in the wrong direction this time. After all, in this universe full of uncertainties, being able to clearly understand your own insignificance while still choosing to live passionately is an extremely powerful vitality in itself. As for whether luck will be conserved, never mind. If you feel that fording a koi will make you feel better, it is also a positive psychological suggestion, which is good. Finally, I wish you all good luck.